through that. I was experimenting, seeing if I was going to do this with Zoom, and I couldn't figure it out. So I'm using a thing called Screencast. And here's what I want to show everybody, including Megan, who's gone today. Because we are talking. Oh, wave, everybody. Say hi. Hi, Megan. Okay. We are beginning to talk about negative space. Correct? I hope the microphone can hear me. We're talking about negative space. Right? So what we've got here is we've got this vertical format, right? It's a portrait up and down rectangle. In it, we've got a silhouette of a tree. Somebody else that we've come to know the last few days. Right? Reason I'm showing you this is to help reinforce this concept of negative space. Right? You don't see the leaves, you don't see the bark. Are you just waving? Yeah, Hector's waving to Megan. Let me. All right. Um, let's deal mostly with the tree. Okay. As I had said before, and this is kind of important, um, this concept is that I go to image and I have to actually choose a tree. I choose a tree in Photoshop. Okay, I can go up to image. The key here is that we want to be able to see um, the positive and the negative space both. Right. So if I go this way, for instance, now you're seeing the negative space as positive space. Turn the white to black, black to white. It's like you've got a light shining tree in the middle of the night. But again, you're not seeing bark, you're not seeing knotholes, you're not seeing tree peas or squirrels. You're seeing these shapes, and the black is just as legitimate as the white. If I can take it backwards, right? And here's what I want to do for you, though. I'm going to shrink our tree a bit. And for one thing, in fact, if I get rid of, I don't want to be seeing that yet. I don't want to be seeing that yet. If we get rid of our formats, this tree, in this big old space, that really makes a huge difference in how you perceive it. You're farther away, or the tree is smaller, right? It's a big space in a smaller tree, or at least you're further away. But if I even go bigger than where we had it before, now you're seeing a lot less of the tree, and maybe I even enlarge it even more. Okay, so maybe a slightly more intimate space because that tree totally fills that space, right? And again, I can throw you back into this part again. Well, maybe it won't let me. I messed with it too much. Should be. No, it's not going to let me. Uh, at any rate, definitely, you're seeing different portions of the tree, and you're seeing the tree from different angles. So not only we're talking about negative and positive space, but by talking about that picture frame, okay, or the format, another thing that we are teaching you is about composition. Okay, I'm going to sit down for a second so I have a little control where the tree goes. Okay, sorry that I'm not on camera for you, Megan. But if I put this tree into different formats, this vertical format looks pretty big. I can break it up into 3 or 4 different formats, but if you just focus on this one format and forget those other two, okay, a completely different view. I go into this format, totally different view. I go into this angled format, and again, try and forget the stuff that's up here. And maybe what I need to do is zoom in on this picture even more. Maybe if I even give myself a tool called, well, I should have a navigator. I don't know why I can't seem to find it and get it to work. Oh, it's right here. Okay. Uh, this is a completely different image than the last several ones that you've been looking at. And what if we put the tree not into this parallelogram or one of those rectangles, but try putting it in this triangle? So again, if I zoom in on that triangle format, that's a way different look. Square, I don't see the trunk of the tree. This one, the tree totally dominates. I really need to shrink that tree down. So, right now, that's more like that first one down in the bottom left. But really cool trick. Try it in a circle. So in the circle, especially if I go back to the size where it was before, now I've completely lost the tree. This maybe looks like the coastline of a continent, right? But if I move the tree around a little bit into that circle, maybe it is less about a tree and it is almost more something that could be used as a logo of some kind for a company, maybe a landscaping company or a company that cuts trees. Eric was talking about working for somebody that cuts trees, right? Well, cleaning up trees. I thought he was talking about that. Maybe I missed it. Okay, so let's take our friend. Come on, bugs. Okay. Once again, in this big format, he's pretty small. If I try to enlarge him so he fills that format, I can make a kind of a stronger composition because see where his foot touches this corner and where his ears touch the top. When you relate to the format, is what how my professors called it, or touch the format. In fact, if you can touch it in not just one or two places, but in three places, hey, suddenly you're looking a lot more at these negative spaces maybe than you are at the shape that he's in. Right? And we've talked about this before. So be watching. I saw in the camera that you're not watching. Okay. Um, be watching on the wall over there that these are like puzzle pieces now. There's this negative space, this big one. So there's three, four, because this one goes and wraps around his finger, right? And five. So there's five puzzle pieces. When those pieces go together, they're stronger together. So it's going to build without me having to talk to your left brain, give you a vocab list and memorize the principles of design. It's going to work on structure, on balance, on scale and proportion, on dominance, on contrast. All of these things are called the principles of design, and they're tools that artists use to arrange pictures. I was talking with photography class yesterday, and I think I brought this up with you a little bit. The idea with using the viewfinder is that if you're kind of the editor, okay, instead of seeing everything out of 180-degree peripheral vision, you are telling people what you want them to see. You are sharing only a portion, and you put it inside of that. Uh, um, Let me face the camera so it actually gets what we're doing. You put it inside of that format, that rectangle, and you change the way that they see it. So we'll move bugs around just like we did the tree. Okay? Well, holy cow! All of a sudden, I can even take away his carrot. I can focus more on his ears and his head, and you don't see his legs. His tail and his hips touch the format now. Right? Go into that square, and it's pretty much just his head and his carrot. Come down into the parallelogram, right? And you've seen this sort of thing. You know where you've probably seen it is if you ever watch the cable channel Boomerang that shows old cartoons, like old Bugs Bunny cartoons, because they mess with their logos. They change their logos a lot. They show you all of Scooby and Shaggy, or just Scooby and no Shaggy, or Scooby and his nephew Scrappy that everybody hates, or just Scooby's head, or four Scoobies, right? And they show them in silhouette, or they show them in color. Graphic designers are doing this sort of a thing all of the time. So let's move bugs up into the triangle. Now, a way that somebody might use this is they might go up here, and if they want to edit it and they want to transform him, what they might do is flip him, right? And so now he's looking toward the arrow, and his pinky is pointing toward the point of the arrow, and his carrot that he chomps on like he's Groucho Marx, and it's a cigar. That fits in the carrot. But again, ignore his feet down there on the bottom and be thinking of the negative space and not just the positive space, right? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine puzzle pieces, including the black one, I guess is 10. Okay. But this changes how we see bugs. You're looking through that triangle. And to move them again. Oh, that doesn't quite work as well in that horizontal rectangle. It might make more sense if he is not dead center, but over here it doesn't make as much sense, but back here it makes a little more sense. We have the empty space in front of him. And we can change too. We can zoom in and get closer to him. And you still recognize him without his ears? Maybe, right? Because he's been around since the 1930s and you've seen so many of his cartoons. All right, now they're looking down. It's funny. Megan's going to be watching. You're going to watch this video because you want to see yourselves because you're famous. And you're going to look at, oh, I hope you're not on phone. You're in a Chromebook or you're doing some homework for another class. You're reading. But here he is. Looks different in a circle. Looks different in a smaller rectangle. Looks a lot different in just a square. So let's play with one more shape. All right. Bar stool. Actually, I could do a couple of different shapes because you're going to do something with this. You've got a worksheet that's going to work like this. We saw the bar stool when we introduced negative space. Okay, smoke. Can you even tell it's a bar stool in that circle? Vincent says yay. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it depends on. Now it looks like a bar stool. Now probably doesn't look like a bar stool. It could. Again, you keep your object the same size, which I'm lying because here I am adjusting these sizes, but consider how it fills the space. So it could be all kinds of places in the circle. It definitely relates to the format. In other words, there's strong structure because so much of it touches the edges of the frame in that vertical one. Square one, very different. Down to the triangle, different. Since you've got such a vertical object, it doesn't necessarily make sense to put it in a horizontal rectangle. This one, a little different than that first one, right? A little tighter. Square or almost square rectangle, also tighter. Definitely something different in that parallelogram, right? What a graphic designer might do is they might even do this sort of a thing where it fits pretty much most of the circle, and then they want to arrange it somehow. So maybe it's at an angle. You don't necessarily have to do that, but all right. Last one. And if you're thinking, why is he doing this so much? Well, I'll tell you. The reason I'm doing it so much is I want to hammer it into your head. And this would go a lot faster if I could just drag it, but for whatever reason, Photoshop your own thing until I get it onto the page and off of the workspace. It's not gonna let me just drag it. Move it. No, you can kind of tell what it is. Is it a bird? All right, see if it'll let me actually drag it now. That's far enough. Yes. Okay. So maybe I make this a little bit bigger, but what you're going to do is you don't even have to draw today. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to trace. And what I'd like you to do, you may do this sort of thing where you change the direction of it. You want it diagonal, you want it rectangular, okay? But you're going to keep the same size, okay? We're going to have different shapes, and you're using the same shape in all of these different formats, okay? And what I'll do is when I put this onto Google Classroom, I'd like to actually be able to see my face when I'm talking to you, Megan. When I put this on, I'm sorry, when I put this in Google Classroom, I will scan an example. I thought I had examples from past years. I must not have had kids do this last year. I know I've done it for 20 years at Boyer Valley, but I apparently don't have any copies. So I'll choose either one of their best ones or I'll choose mine and we'll make a copy and we'll put that example on there too. But basically, taking a pencil. Well, and an object, and have a variety of objects to choose from. If you want to do this at home instead of waiting until you get back here, okay? So you'll have a worksheet. You'll have an object. Maybe it's a pair of scissors. Maybe it's your own pair of glasses. Right? I had something else. Hole punch, paper punch. Of course, your pencil. Right? And all you're really going to need to do is, oh, it doesn't work because it's not over the camera. There. You're going to trace your object, okay, in each of these different 8 or so formats, different little boxes, if that makes sense. But I'm going to stop the recording now, if I can even remember how. I think I have to go here. Oh, no, I just go there. And I stop sharing my screen. I want to stop the whole recording. Hmm. Well, I'll stop sharing the screen. We'll see what happens. It's supposed to record itself.